Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're coming from. Ashley, what do you think on start time? Give folks a couple more minutes or
Yeah, I would say give 1 or 2 more minutes and then
Okay.
roll if you think you're
Awesome.
going to go over the hour.
Right. I won't go over. If I do, it'll only be like 2 minutes. I'll cut myself off. Kaylin, just because you're the only one I can see, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I'm doing great.
It's early here still. I'm in California, so it's 10 a.m.
What part of California are you in?
I'm in Monterey.
Oh, every time I
Yeah.
hear Monterey, it just sounds so fancy. I'm in Monterey.
It's priced like it's fancy for sure. It's definitely not my favorite place in the world, but it's okay.
To be fair, everywhere's priced like it's fancy these days.
Yeah, that's very true.
What are we thinking, squad? Should we get going?
I say
All
let's
right. All right, let's do it. I know we have folks still coming in, but they can catch up on the recording. Okay. All right. We are going to dive right in. We have a lot of content to cover over 60 minutes. I'm going to try to make it actually 35, 40 minutes, just so we have some time at the end to actually have some back and forth discussion. And hopefully you guys have a lot of input and questions because that's always the best part. Okay, so let's kick this off. So today we are talking about this concept of individual design, and we're going to attempt to lay out the biggest pillars of individual design. I'm saying four pillars, guys, but there's so many. Like we had to like dial it down to like what are the four most impactful things. So what we did is we chose the four what we believe are most impactful things, but there's probably 24 other things that we could have chatted on today. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. I'm Carl Hardwick for you guys that don't know who I am. And I'm the CEO of OPEX and CoachRx. And the only reason I'm actually running this webinar is because I'm also the lead instructor to the OPEX method. And that's what we're going to talk about. Everything's kind of leading to how do we teach these things more specifically inside of the OPEX method. For you guys that aren't familiar what the OPEX method is, it's what we used to call OPEX CCP. Essentially, it's our certificate program that we've taken many, many coaches through. We'll talk about that on the next slide, that we've taken many, many coaches through. And we talk about individual design. And individual design is more than just designing an individual training program. We're going to talk about training today. We're going to talk about lifestyle, all that stuff that our brains go to initially when we think about individual design. But individual design is a lot more than that. Okay. It's building great relationships with our clients. It's assessing our clients. It's, of course, taking all of the information and data that we've discerned through conversations, intake, consultation that would lead to an individually designed program. But it's also this concept of like, how do we teach our clients to just live better lives, right? So that's what we talk about in the OPEX method. But it all goes back to coaching a human one-to-one. Okay. So me, I've been coaching for a lot of years, coming up on 20. Yeah, actually just past 20. And I've coached in a lot of different seasons as well. So I started off doing personal training in person only back in my college years. Then I went completely online and just coached many, many, many people online only. And then I coached as a gym owner, so I would coach in person and online, and that was like such a hybrid or a combo of like group coaching, personal training, individual design, which we're talking about today, and a combination of all three of those. And today, I still coach. Yeah, so I still have a small roster of clients that I coach, and I coach those clients online. And I do it because number one, I love coaching. And I also do it because it's a way to refine and stay connected to the things that we're actually teaching coaches to do at OPEX. So over those years, I've seen the industry change a lot. I've seen a lot of coaches just absolutely crush it. I've seen a lot of coaches burn out and stop coaching via that burnout. I've seen coaches build great systems. I've seen coaches that have no systems. I've seen a lot of different type of coaches over the years. And I've seen clients, and this is like personally, and then also coaches that are coaching folks. I've seen clients that are great clients, right? Super compliant, seeing great success, all of those things. Candace is raising her hand. Yes, absolutely. And I've seen clients not very compliant, not very connected to the training program, bouncing from plan to plan, um, you know, coming up with excuses as to why they're not seeing success. And when I say excuses, I don't mean that in like a derogatory way. Sometimes excuses are actually reality, but that they have those excuses as to why they're not seeing success. And sometimes those excuses are valid and coming from us, the coach, right? Like how we didn't serve them the way that we need to serve them. So a lot of the stuff that we talk about today, guys, is to try to solve those things. And we believe that the best way to solve those things is one-to-one through individually designed training and lifestyle coaching. Okay, so today is all about grounding all of us in the truths and the principles of coaching. Okay, simple, effective, and again, we'll continue to go back to this concept of principles and what principles really mean. Okay, and these are the same truths and the same principles that we teach and execute alongside you guys within the OPEX method. Okay, so that was a long intro. Without further ado, let's actually get into these 4 pillars. Okay. So this is essentially what this call is going to be about. Okay. So we're going to talk about these 4 pillars of individually designed training. Okay. So pillar number 1 is positioning. Okay. So we're going to talk about positioning. How do you position yourself as a professional coach? Okay. I think that, we'll spend 5 or 10 minutes on this today. But inside of the OPEX method, we spend a lot of time talking about who we are as coaches, what our aims are as coaches, what are our goals for our clients, independent of their own goals, right? And how do we actually position ourselves in the market? Okay, so we'll talk about positioning and how to stand out as a professional coach. Then we'll talk about assessment. Okay, assessment is unbelievably important. Okay, because remember the term that we used to kick off the call was individually designed coaching. And we'll dig deep into assessment today, or kind of deep into assessment today. And the reason why that has to be a pillar is because to give someone something that's truly individualized, we have to have context. We have to understand the human that is in front of us. Okay, so we're going to talk about assessment as the second pillar. Pillar number 3, this is everyone's favorite. It's programming. Okay, how do we design great training programs? How do we design great lifestyle and nutrition programs to get people success, to get people results? Okay, so programming will be pillar number 3. And then finally, pillar number 4 will be systems. Okay, so when I talk about systems, I'm talking about how do we deliver a product extremely consistently, guys, day to day, week to week, month to month, eventually year over year. If we play our cards right, right? Like we should always be thinking about not only how do I systematize my practice as a coach so I can actually scale and make a career out of this, and more importantly, to get great results with my clients, but how do I create a great system that gets people results over time? Because that all leads back to not only just great results so we can feel good about being a great coach, but now we're actually helping people and we're retaining clients over more than just 3 or 6 months. Okay. There's nothing more expensive than trying to bring in a net new client. Okay. So systems attaches to everything. Okay. Our capabilities, our scalability, our client success, and how long our clients are actually going to stay with us. Okay. So these are the pillars that we're going to talk about today in building our individually designed coaching businesses. Okay. And if we remove any of these, we are just not going to be in as good of a place as if we were to always consider all 4 of these pillars. And again, like I said, to kick off the call, there's probably 24 more that we could chat through, but these are like the big heavy hitters that we just have to make sure that we have, at least as a consideration in our coaching practices. And I didn't say this to kick us off, guys, but we wanted to set this up as a meeting format instead of like a webinar format where no one can see each other and so on and so forth. So if you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Ashley will stop me in my tracks and she will ask that question, or feel free to just take yourself off of mute and just ask the question. Okay. I always say, let's make this a conversation. Never really happens that way, but I will be surprised one day by a group that actually makes it a conversation. Okay. Why this masterclass? Okay. So these are the 4 things that really came to mind where I'm like, okay, why do we need to talk about things? And a lot of why do we need to talk about these things specifically? And through the lens of like, most of you guys are coaches that have never really seen us, been on a call with us, haven't been through our education, right? So what we want to do is we kind of want to like ground you guys. Okay. So we're going to talk about a bunch of different things today. We're going to talk about like energy systems training and stuff like that and programming, but just keep in mind that the goal is to simplify all of these things. Okay. And simplification is extremely important because complexity is just not needed to get folks results. And complexity is not needed for us as coaches to have results, to get results in this industry. Okay. So speaking of the industry, number one, the industry is extremely noisy. Okay. And all I mean by that is there's a bunch of different messages coming in. To be fair, I'm giving a message inside of that as well. Right. And I'm not saying that our message is better. Right. All I'm saying is that our intention is to reduce the noise and to simplify and to just talk about principles that we can utilize across our entire client bases for the rest of our coaching career. Okay. So we're trying to like de-amplify the noise. Okay. There's a lot of different methodologies. There's a lot of ways to do things. We just really challenge ourselves to keep it really simple and to stay away from the complex things that are just like a spark in the bucket, like really popular right now, and aren't going to lead to long-term success over the span of our coaching careers. Okay. So the industry is noisy. Clients are confused, right? Because a lot of folks that are going to come to you guys to hire you as coaches, they're probably doing a little bit of their own research as well. Would you guys agree with that? Like they're probably like Googling some things, watching some things on YouTube, using Chat GPT, right? So the industry is extremely noisy. And because of that, clients are really confused because there's so much information out there, right? So where we can, and we're going to get into this in a second, when we talk about positioning, but where you can really win as a coach is when you start to de-amplify that noise to your clients, to really start to simplify things, to say like, hey, we're talking about 4 pillars of individual design coaching, but imagine if you talk to your clients about pillars of just living a healthier life, right? And it's like, just do these simple things on a day by day, week by week basis, and you are just going to have great outcomes, better outcomes than you have right now. So it's like de-amplifying the noise for your clients or your potential clients so they're not overwhelmed. Okay. Um, and this kind of goes to the industry has a lot of coaches are overwhelmed as well, right? Number one, coaches are overwhelmed because, and I'm not saying this is all coaches, I'm just throwing out options here, right? Coaches are overwhelmed because they don't know what information is important for them to take out of the fitness sphere and like put in their toolbox as a coach, right? What's the best way to design a training program? What's the best way to build my coaching business? What's the best way to set up a consultation with a client, right? What's the best way to coach nutrition and lifestyle, right? So coaches are overwhelmed and confused as well because there's just so much information out there where they're not taking that information and systematizing that information. Okay. Or maybe coaches are overwhelmed because they have the acumen, right? They're like, hey, I know my stuff, but I just don't know how to put the pieces together, right? I don't have a system as a coach, right? Like I don't have a clean way of, I'm just going to go to like a calendar. I don't have a clean calendar where I'm like, this is what I do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You know what I mean? And like, I actually have time on the weekends to spend doing the things I love outside of coaching or spending time with my family or whatever the thing is. Like they don't have a system. So they're extremely overwhelmed and they're coaching 365 days a year and they're coaching 18 to 20 hours a day, right? We should be able to systematize our practice so that we can treat our practice as a profession. Okay. I get it. We all love, I'm assuming we all love coaching. We all love helping people and all of those things, but we can't let ourselves be overwhelmed with those things. Okay. Um, and principles are ignored, right? Principles are ignored. Um, Type into YouTube like the best way to design a resistance training program, and you're just going to get uh, some really good stuff, and you're going to get some wacky stuff as well, right? When you see the wacky stuff, those are usually like trends, clickbait, or folks that just like have to make things complex because when things look complex and go over our heads, we naturally think that they know something that we don't know. Okay. So when we do that, or when the industry does that, principles are just blatantly ignored. Okay. And then when this happens, we start to see trends changing every 6 months, right? Just kind of think about that. Like, think about some trends that were like the hotness 12 months ago, where you're just like, oh, we don't even talk about that anymore, right? I won't call out any specifically, but there has been a lot of them. There's been a lot of them. Okay. So we've been doing this for a long time at OPEX. So I talked about myself, right? But we've been doing this for a long time. Our founder, James Fitzgerald, has been doing this for almost 30 years now. We've been operating as a company for 25 plus years. We've taken, Candace, we always say 10,000 plus coaches educated. We need to get like more specific on that because I think we might be like over 14 or 15,000, but we will still say 10,000 plus coaches have gone through our coaching program. And we've watched a lot of trends come and go. But we have and we always will continue to double down on the things that never change. Not to say that we're always right, but the things that never change. And that goes back to principles, guys, principles, the things that have worked for a long time. Okay. The things that have worked for a long time and that are empirically proven. Okay. Empirically proven over a long period of time. So our aim is to stay really, really close to principles. Principles always win over the long term. Simplicity always wins over the long term. And finally, consistency always wins over the long term. So those are the things that we're really, really focused on for you guys that haven't been introduced to us yet. All right. Any questions so far? How we doing? Ashley, if I miss anything? I always ask you that. That's just my transition to drink water.
I don't think so. And we don't have any questions. Candace did put in the chat that if we include all of our free EDU, it's probably closer to 50K that we've educated
Okay.
through OPEX
Awesome.
methodology.
Cool. Awesome. All right, let's get into it, guys. So pillar number one, I want to talk about positioning. Okay. This is referring to how you position yourself to the market, or we'll call them like prospects. Okay. As well as to your current clients. Okay. Um, this should actually be the same, right? Like, does anyone disagree with that? Like, you're not positioning yourself as something that you're not in your actual practice. So positioning is all about how do we refer to ourselves, or how do we position ourselves to prospects as well as our current clients. And it's how we essentially define ourselves as coaches, right? So how we define ourselves goes a really long way in how others define us as well as coaches. Okay. So if you're the coach that's like really focused on health and vitality, it's like that's your positioning as a coach. That's who you are in the market. Okay. That's who your clients see you as. When your clients go out and they're like, hey, you need to work with Tim because here's what he's done for me, right? It's like you've positioned yourself as that type of coach with your current clients. If you're a performance-based coach and you're like, dude, all I care about is a bigger deadlift and a faster 500-meter row, and that's where your aim is and that's what your focus is, that's who you're going to be known as in the market. So when we start to look at positioning and who's interested in working with you as a coach, we have to consider our positioning, because if you're the latter, and I'm not like, crapping on a performance-based coach, but if you're a performance-based coach that's only focused on improving deadlifts and 500-meter row times, do you think that, 55-year-old Sally, right, is going to want to hire you to feel better, to lose a little bit of weight, to increase vigor on a day-by-day basis? Probably not, right? And that's not a bad thing, but your positioning is going to inform who's interested in working with you. Okay. But if we even go a level deeper than that, we could start talking about like, what do we call ourselves, right? Do we call ourselves a coach, or do we call ourselves a trainer? Quick little poll. Just put in the chat. Like, what do you guys position yourselves as? Do you guys call yourself a coach, or do you call yourselves a trainer? Seeing a lot of coaches coming through. And guys, it's not a bad, yeah, both. It's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a terrible thing if you're positioning yourself as a trainer. Um, but think about those words, right? And think about the differences between those words. We talk about that a decent amount. Like, what is a coach? What is a coach? What is the difference between a coach and a trainer? Okay. So just to make sure that we're all on the same page, I want to share with you a couple definitions. Number one, I want to share with you the definition of the dictionary definition of a coach. Okay. So bear with me for a second. So, dictionary definition of a coach is a person who provides training, guidance, and instruction to help others achieve specific goals or improve their skills. Right? Pretty solid definition of a coach. So, we really wanted to define what is a professional coach for us at OPEX. Okay. So we really spent a lot of time really thinking about this, where it's like, well, what do we think a coach should be? Because we think that it should be somewhat, it should be something more than, well, we just want to refine and improve skills. So bear with me. I'm going to actually read what we call a professional coach here at OPEX. Okay. So a professional fitness coach is educated and experienced in delivering consistent success and results to their clients. Delivering unique value to each of their clients ensures a professional coach earns a full-time wage, making it possible for coaching to be a full-time career. Professional coaches move the profession forward by teaching their coaches that might be underneath them, as well as their clients, how to be autonomous in their health and wellness inside and outside of the gym. Okay. So I'm not saying that's like a perfect definition, but I just want to talk about that's how we look at a coach, right? Those are some things that we think are really important to have inside of that professional coach definition. Okay. So when thinking about that, and we start to think about words that we use, right? Like I could probably sit back and come up with a really good definition of what a trainer is as well, right? But I think when the market hears a trainer, they think of something very specific. They think of a very specific person. They probably think of someone that's really concerned with giving them a workout for some kind of like physical transformation. Okay. You'll walk in like a commercial gym and you'll just see like trainer on the back of everyone's back that's working there. And those folks probably aren't like, consulting on a monthly basis and like digging deep on things outside of like sets and reps in the gym. Okay. So if a trainer is more so from a market standpoint concerned with giving you a workout for physical transformation, a coach is concerned with, based on our definition, teaching you how to live your life for long-term vitality, autonomy, and whatever success is for you and whatever your physical ventures might be or your health ventures might be. Okay. So it's just the term is just more holistic in the way that we look at it. Okay. So what I want to challenge you guys with is I want you guys to think about what a coach is to you, right? And I'll challenge you with our definition of a coach. You don't have to like take that definition on yet. But I want to ask you, you don't have to put this in the chat, but just think about it. Do you educate your clients, right? Do you give your clients workouts, or is there some kind of like education that might happen along with giving them those workouts or that nutrition program or that lifestyle program? Do you educate? Are you experienced delivering consistent success and results, right? Consistent success and results. Guys, let's be honest. I've run into a lot of like accidental success in coaching people over the years where it's like you get someone that's never done anything in their life and you like give them something and like progress is like this, just like shooting through the roof. And we kind of want to like pat ourselves on the back like, man, we're pretty good at this, right? But consistent success and results across a bunch of different N=1 clients, right? Are we doing that? Are we earning what we want to earn, right? Because we that's our definition of a coach, but a professional coach. Are we earning what we want to earn as a professional coach? Do we teach our clients? Do we coach our clients with an aim in mind? Okay, what's our aim? Okay, so an aim is a goal. Okay, what is the goal? Everything should be reverse engineered. The goal is this. I'm going to reverse engineer from this, and everything that I do is to get us to this. Okay, so are you teaching and are you coaching your clients with an aim in mind? Okay. Um, and then finally, this is probably the biggest challenge. Are we setting an example for who we're coaching? Okay. I think being like a football coach is a lot different than being a fitness coach. Okay. You can be a football coach and have never played the position, maybe even never played the sport. If you guys have heard of like Bill Belichick, right? Not the most athletic dude in the world, but he had a lot of success. Not so much these days, but he had a lot of success with the Patriots, right? That guy never even picked up a football competitively. But he was just so smart, right? He knew how to play the game and how to scheme against the game. I think fitness coaching is a lot different. Like we have to take on a lot of the things that we're asking our people to do, right? We kind of have to like walk the walk. And when I say walk the walk, I don't mean like everyone on this call has to be like the fittest, right? Or the leanest or the fastest or anything like that. That's not what I mean. All I'm saying is that we're practicing what we're preaching. Okay. We're practicing the things that we're asking our clients to do. Okay. Kind of a joke, right? But if you walked into a dental office and teeth were all jacked up, you probably wouldn't want that person putting you under anesthesia to fix your teeth, right? It's kind of the same thing as a fitness coach, right? You walk into a facility and it's like, there's a coach drinking a Coca-Cola and eating McDonald's, right? You're probably not going to go to that person and say, like, man, how do I live just like a healthier life, right? So I think that that's really, really important that we think about, are we setting an example for our clients?
And Carl, I know you and I, words are so important, right? And words take on the evolution of words is interesting, right? I think we're hitting this in the chat when we've evolved from personal trainer to coach and the definition of what that means. But even in explaining this, like you and I have gone back and forth around, is it positioning or is it more identity? And
Mm,
both shape a case here because ultimately what this comes down to is how you develop your service offering. What is that service that you are you delivering to clients? If a trainer is most likely delivering a session or multiple sessions, but they're consumed with the value exchange that happens in that session. Versus I think where Carl's going to take us is presenting something different that offers a very different service, means something different, and sometimes that requires some education in the market. Even if we use the word coach standalone, that's going to mean multiple things, just like the football coach example. But if
yeah.
you think about online, what our clients are bombarded with, do they really understand the service that they're going to get when they hire a coach these days? Like it could mean so many things. So it's so important for us to be clear on how what is our identity as a coach? What is the positioning? What is the service blueprint? And that's why I'm so happy that we started here.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks for that, Candace. Um, yeah, guys, and then kind of moving forward, we're going to talk a little bit about value. Okay. And what we talk about on this slide, I want you guys to like just like burn it into your brains because we're going to continue to go back to this particular slide as we talk about everything, as we talk about program design, as we talk about building your assessment protocol, as we talk about building your systems, right? Just think about like, what can I uniquely provide? Because when we start talking about value, that's what value is, right? Your value is determined through the things that you uniquely provide. Okay. That's just how the market works. Okay. If you guys were coaching it, was anyone coaching in 2020 with like the COVID madness? Were you guys coaching back then? Your value as a coach in the market went like this in 2020. I don't know if all of you guys felt it, but your value went like this. Why? Because people were really concerned. A lot of people were really concerned with like, man, how do I just like become healthier? Right? Like it was just like a snippet of time where folks were like, am I healthy or not? Right? Like, am I in like this at risk category or not? Right? It was a really interesting time. We had a lot of professionals that transitioned to being coaches around that time, and we saw a lot of folks really value their health. Right? I'm not saying they all valued it in what I would say the proper way, but a lot of people started thinking about it. Okay. So going back to this just statement, right? Value is determined by the things that you uniquely provide. If let's say that Kaylin, just because you said you were in Monterey, right? Kaylin's in Monterey, California. Okay. Let's say, I don't know if this is the case, so bear with me, but let's say Kaylin's like coaching in person at like this facility at the end of the block. And there's like three other facilities on that same block that are doing exactly what Kaylin's doing, right? Their process is the same. They're giving the same type of program. Who do you think is going to get most of the clients? Everyone's like, Kaylin, of course. Yeah. It's the person, it's the coach that is charging the least amount. Because if you're giving the same value, right? I'm going to go to the cheapest one, right? It's kind of like when we go shopping, we're like always discerning what's worth it. And we're only willing to pay more when there's a value proposition that urges us and nudges us to pay more. So if we're doing the same thing that all coaches on our block are doing, and block is theoretical, right? We could be online or whatever the case is. But if we're doing the same thing and delivering the same value, you are not going to earn a higher price point. Okay. Because you're not uniquely providing anything. And I'm not saying like your price point is everything, but it's at least something, right? Like your time is worth, I'm going to throw a random number out here. Your time is worth more than $49.99 a month for individual design coaching, right? Okay. So we have to just think about that. Okay. Um, so again, I want everyone to think about like, what are we actually uniquely providing? Not what you're saying you provide, like actually, what are you uniquely providing in your coaching practice? It can kind of be sobering sometimes when we think about that, because sometimes we think about that and we're like, well, I'm not actually uniquely providing anything, right? Or maybe we're like, man, I'm uniquely providing consistent results for my people. So we might be doing on the surface the same thing as everyone else, but all my people are getting results and the other two coaches on my block aren't getting results. Maybe it's your approach. Maybe it's your system. You have something really tight and systematized, and there's value in that. People that come in know exactly what to expect when they hire you. Maybe it's your ability to connect with people and build great relationships. Maybe your program design sucks, but you can build great relationships with people, and people are really consistent in doing your sucky program design, and they're all seeing progress because they're moving, they're lifting weights, they're doing some aerobic work, right? But your unique value is like you connect people, you create great relationships, right? That's unique value, right? Um, or maybe it's on the other side. Maybe you're not very good at building relationships, but you just build awesome program designs. You're like, man, my A1 through C2 is perfect, right? And that's something that you uniquely provide. If you're that person, I would probably pause and create some unique value somewhere else. Okay. Because the coach that designs a great training program but is unable to connect clients to that training program, their clients aren't going to have success because their clients aren't going to do it. Compliance is going to be low. They're not going to enjoy talking to you as a coach. They're not going to enjoy interacting with you, consulting with you, and they're going to go, right? So please, please, please don't spend all your time, energy, and effort only trying to be a better program designer. ChatGPT can design some pretty good training programs these days, guys. Okay. So let's let that not be your unique value proposition. Any thoughts or questions on value, guys? All right, we're still on pillar one. I'm almost done with pillar one. Okay. Last piece to close us out on pillar one in positioning. I just want to think about like these three coaching characteristics: clarity, authority, and impact. Okay. So when we look at these things, right, when we look at clarity, right, and this is just like, are you clear with yourself as a coach, right? You know who you are, you know what you stand for, you know what your aim is as a coach. When a new client comes in, right, you're not like trying to reinvent the wheel and thinking about not only your system, but what your goal for that client is, independent of their own goals. You're just really clear. You understand who you are as a coach. That's a very, very important characteristic under this concept and idea of positioning. Okay. Next is authority. Okay. Whether we like it or not, if we're coaching people, we are automatically put into that authority role in that coach-client relationship. By definition, right? They've hired you so that you can lead them in their health, wellness, fitness, so on and so forth, right? So when we step into this authoritative role, that's why it becomes really important to be very resolute with who you are, your positioning, maybe who you're not, some of the things that you don't do as a coach, right? But that's a really, really important thing that we all need to kind of like wrestle with a little bit. Like, what does it actually mean for me to be the authority figure in this coach-client relationship? And we have to own that, guys. We have to own it, right? There's nothing worse. Maybe I could think of a couple things that are worse, but there's very few things worse than being in a relationship and you're supposed to be the authority figure and you're just like you're not confident, right? You're unsure, right? You're hesitant, right? Clients aren't hiring you to be unsure, hesitant, and not confident, right? That doesn't mean like lie. That doesn't mean think that you know everything. It's just like, no, 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 this is my theory and this is what we're going to do. And we'll talk about that more with program design and how we design training programs. But this is my theory. This is how we're going to do this thing. And then we're going to adjust fire if it doesn't work, right? You just deliver your coaching service with confidence and authority. And then finally, be really concerned with impact, guys. Be really, really concerned with impact. First, identify what impact means for you. But now this is where individualization really comes into play. Understand what impact means for each one of the clients that you're coaching. Impact might mean, improving physiological characteristics for one person. For another person, it might be about improving confidence. For another person, it might be, oh man, I just need to like get to this 300-pound squat, right? Like understand what impact means in the season in which you're coaching all of your people, right? So even though a lot of us have small client bases and small is relative, right? But if you think about it, if you coach 100 people over your career as a coach, right? That the impact that you have with those 100 individuals can have a massive ripple effect with their friends, with their families, with their neighbors, so on and so forth. So really, really dig deep into understanding what impact means with each one of your clients. Okay. Should probably be connected to like their goals and why they're hiring you, right? But sometimes it goes well beyond that. Pillar number 2. All right. I wanted to spend a good amount of time on positioning. I'm going to kind of roll through these next few pillars. I always look at Ashley when I say I'm going to speed up. Does she trust me? Okay, pillar number 2. We're going to talk about assessment, guys. Okay. So the moniker that we've used for a long time is this concept of like we assess, we don't guess, right? And that was made really popular by our founder James. But even before that, there was this guy named Paul Check that used that. James stole it from him, but we'll take it. So it's this concept of like if we're not assessing, we're just guessing. Okay. And assessment is so powerful. Assessment is so powerful. Okay. We can definitely geek out and talk about how we can, perfect every single aspect of assessment, but that's not the goal. The goal is just to gain individual context with every person that we're working with. Because when we gain individual context, personal context for that person, we're more likely to deliver what? Unique value. Remember we talked about the, value and what we're uniquely providing, right? The goal should be to provide unique value to every client that comes through the door. And this starts with understanding them as a person, right? So assessment is actually pretty broad. Assessment is like, what's our intake process? What's a consultation look like? So we talk about initial consultations at OPEX. We talk about the physical assessment, which we'll dig into here in a moment. But that gives us all a lot of really good context so that we can start to deliver that unique value to all of our clients. Okay. We can sometimes think about like, okay, what am I doing right now for assessment and how can I improve that? I would actually think about it a little bit differently. I would think about it from a concept of what am I doing for my assessment right now? And is it giving me enough context to deliver great results for my clients? Okay. Doesn't need to be complex. I would actually urge your assessment process to be really, really simple, really, really repeatable, and really scalable. That gives you great context, great information. Okay. And then I would really urge everyone to really fight to be a really good assessor. Yeah, fight to be a really good assessor as a coach. Okay. Notice things, be a good listener, ask great questions, be okay with not everything being absolutely perfect. Okay, that's a really important characteristic of being a great assessor. You're not a perfectionist. Okay, you're just trying to get the next piece of progress, right, or the next piece of information or context, and then we just have to have the ability to judge well. Okay, so I say all those things, and then you guys are probably thinking, am I a good assessor, right? If you've done 5 assessments over your coaching career, you're definitely not a good assessor, right? The only way to be a good assessor is just to assess a lot, get a lot of reps in. It's like building motor control in a squat, right? You just need to do a lot of reps, okay? Have a system around your assessment and get a lot of reps in to be a better a better assessor. Okay, so I pulled these slides directly from the course, the OPEX method. So I'm not going to actually walk through each piece individually. I just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of how we look at the physical assessment. So the first thing that we look at in our physical assessment is body composition. So we call this OPEX body. Okay. Like I said, this is like the kicking off point of the physical assessment. So we do body, we do move, and we do work. Okay. There's a lot of truth and understanding what's happening, quote unquote, underneath the hood. Okay. And you guys can see what we're measuring on the screen here. But we're looking at really simple things like, well, where's your body weight? Where's your muscle? How much muscle mass do you have? What's your body fat percentage? What's your basal metabolic rate? Things like that. Like it just gives us information. It's a great opportunity to show someone what objective measures look like. A lot of folks have never seen this stuff, right? So it's like it's a starting point for a lot of people. It's actually a great starting point, even if someone doesn't have, aesthetic or body composition goals. And the reason why I say that, especially for a lot of general population folks, is someone that goes from like doing very little to now being really compliant with you as their coach because you're a great relationship builder. They'll see some really interesting objective improvements in a fairly short period of time. So sometimes this could be a great motivator for people. Not very motivating for most people when they first do their initial assessment, their first body composition scan. But it shows them the fruits of their labor, right? And sometimes it could just be another nudge of like, hey, you may not feel progress, but you're seeing progress. Let's keep this thing going. Okay. So that's the first thing we look at. We look at OPEX body and we're looking at structure and body composition. The real goal here, independent of someone that has body comp or aesthetic goals, is just to see if we see any red flags. Okay. What are some things we might need to focus on? For example, you have someone that comes in and they have very, very low muscle mass, like 5th percentile of muscle mass. And they're the same person that walked in and they said, hey, I really don't like doing resistance training. I just like doing like cardio, right? It might be a great tool to say, hey, look at that, not like to fear monger them, right? But like, hey, this is where your muscle mass is. Bridge it. This is why having a higher amount of muscle mass might be important to you and for your health and your vitality. And you can now connect it back to what their goals are. And then you go across that bridge and you say, and this is how we're going to do it. I know you said you don't love doing resistance training, and that actually is showing, right? Don't say it that way, but it's actually showing in their body comp testing, right? And it could be that bridge to get them to do something that they might be a little bit uncomfortable doing. Okay. Next, we go into OPEX move. Okay. So our movement screen is very simple, very, very simple. And we do that intentionally because all we want to do in our movement screen is to identify capabilities through functional patterns of movement. So we're assessing our 6 patterns of movement. I say our like we own them. I'm just saying like we use these 6 patterns. We use the squat, the lunge, the bend, the push, the pull, and the core patterns. Okay. So there's a lot of truth in this assessment. And the effectiveness of this movement screen is its number one, its simplicity, but number two, how it correlates to the primary movers inside of each one of these foundational movement patterns. So what does our squat look like? It looks a lot like a squat, right? What does our bend assessment look like? It looks a lot like someone just bending at their hips and touching their toes. Lunge, same thing, right? Push, pull, core, right? All of these things are connected directly to let's gain some context so that this can inform us what this person ought to be doing or maybe not ought to be doing in program design. So we're actually we're looking at this through the context of capabilities and incapabilities, not perfecting movement. Okay. So when we're looking at this, we're like, okay, I noticed these things in the squat. What does this tell me about exercise selection in the squat? Okay. I noticed these things in the squat. Let's say someone just fails terribly. It shows me where they are in terms of, we talk a lot about training age, beginner, intermediate, and advanced training age. If someone can't squat, they're going to train like a beginner. We're going to do a lot of motor control work, right? A lot of high tempos, a lot of refinement of movement, right? We're probably not concerned with slapping 300 pounds on that squat if they can't squat, if they can't do a quarter squat yet, right? So it's almost like earning the right to lift more weights, earning the right to do more volume, all of those things, right? So the reason why we take people through OPEX Move is to understand function and capability through those patterns of movement. And that's almost like a cheat code to us as a coach because it informs their program design. We're not guessing, right? We're not guessing what they ought to be doing in program design. Their movement screen told us this. So we dig really deep here in the OPEX method, and we talk about where training age falls here, and we talk about faults. And if you see these faults, what exercise selection might look like, and things like that. But it's a great tool to just have a very simple assessment. And then finally, we'll end it at OPEX work. So this is simply work capacity testing. So what we're doing is we use something called the 10-minute assault bike test. So we throw folks on an assault bike and we have them go for 10 minutes and we do some like body weight conversion scoring and stuff like that, just to see, number one, how do they express and what are their capabilities? But number two, some other things that are not objective. Okay. There's a lot of things that we talk about in OPEX work that has absolutely nothing to do with capacity. Physical resilience, emotional resilience, anxiety in doing aerobic work, emotions around doing aerobic work, response to actually doing aerobic work and recovering from that aerobic work, how they approach that aerobic work, and how we can take that to program design and say, okay, they don't know how to pace. Okay. That directly informs what someone should or should not be doing in aerobics based on their capabilities in aerobic work. Okay. But like any assessment, to determine what we're trying to assess when we're performing the test, we have to have context, right? We have to have context. Capacity is the most obvious answer when we're like, well, why are we doing OPEX work or why are we doing work capacity testing? Well, it's for capacity. That's only a small sliver of why we should do work capacity testing. It can inform us to do with a lot of things we should or should not be doing that can allow us to provide that unique value. Okay. So we're looking at those things like I talked about, ability to pace, capacity. So like absolute scores, power, how they approached, all of those things. Okay. So when we do this, we're noting the score, we're noticing, we're noting noticings, and we're also noting limitations that might have occurred. This goes without saying, right? Great individually designed program must begin with an assessment. Okay, we must assess.
All right. Before you move on, Carl,
Yes.
question from Kaylin in the chat, if we are fully remote, and we get this question a lot, and don't have access to an in-body scan, is it still recommended to have the client or athlete go have one done somewhere near them? For example, I have an athlete I work with in New Hampshire, and I've had her go get a DEXA scan so that I could get that information.
Yeah,
But yeah.
Caitlin, I would do exactly what you're doing. I would do something to get some objective measures. I think a lot of remote coaches, they'll just say like, throw over some like progress photos or something like that. But that sometimes that doesn't tell us the complete story, especially if someone doesn't have aesthetic goals, right? It's just the more information and context that we have as a coach is better, independent of what they're trying to move toward, right? You might get someone that has no priorities in body composition or no priorities in aesthetics or anything like that. But it's really helpful to understand some of these things, and we talk about it when we go through the method, like what does high skeletal muscle mass actually mean? How can that inform program design? How can that start to build priorities? Because what we're looking for a lot when we're coaching, I mean, what we are actually looking for when we're coaching and especially assessing, we're always looking for priorities. What are some things that we can clean up, right? And sometimes we just have to assess and dig a little bit deep to understand those things. So yeah, I would approach it that way without freaking out if someone doesn't have access to it, right? But I would just build kind of a system, right? Someone doesn't have access. It's like, well, what is your OPEX body for those people that don't have access to DEXA scans and in bodies and stuff like that?
Yeah, I definitely think I just have a hard time like sending my athletes to go do something extra. Like I struggle with asking them to go do something more. And a lot of times like things like a DEXA scan are not cheap either. So I feel like I struggle with that being like, I really would love for you to go do this, but I can't like mandate that you go and do this, but I really would love to have this information. So I just like have a hard time kind of with that generally. But
Yeah, lean into InBody. InBody's about 98, 99% accurate compared to a DEXA. And every town has them for free, especially in a supplement store where they're trying to sell you something. So just tell your clients, hey, go to this supplement store, do the work for them, look up where they can find one near, and say, hey, go to the supplement store, but just keep your blinders on and refuse to buy anything when you go in there, because they're always going to look at your InBody scan and try to sell you the next hotness to try to improve that muscle mass.
thank you.
Yeah,
And
Also,
absolutely.
some
InBody,
local gyms have them as well.
Yeah.
yeah, I was just gonna say, InBody has a database that I know like when we got our InBody, we were asked if we wanted to be a part of that database. So we've had people reach out to us about that are not members of our gym wanting to come in. So you can even just Google like InBody near this location and it'll start pulling it up. And I've done that with my own personal clients where I've made that connection with a gym for them. So then they're a little bit less intimidated to go do it.
Cool.
Yep, for
Thank
sure.
you.
Absolutely. All right. Program design is the obvious pillar. Number three, I can't go too deep into program design because once you go deep into program design, you have to like keep going. So I'm going to keep this very surface and macro. But I do want to give you guys some insights into how we look at program design as I do that. This is obvious, I think, for everyone, right? We could talk about assessments and positioning all day, but at the end of the day, our clients want results, and most of those results actually come through your clients doing something. So when I say program design, that could be training, that can be lifestyle, that can be nutrition, right? You're designing them something and saying, hey, I want you to do this prescription, go off and do it. Okay. So prescriptions and someone's ability to be compliant to those prescriptions determines a lot of the outcomes that we have, whether they're good or bad. Okay. What I will say before moving on to the next slide is make sure that we're writing training programs that our clients are capable of and that they can actually do, but that they can also recover from and they can adapt to. Okay. And then that's going to change, right? Like when you start on day one versus like day 366, it's like the program is probably evolving for that person because the inputs of what they can do, what they can recover from, and what they can adapt to has probably progressed or increased over that year. Okay. So that's how we look at program design, just understanding those things. When we actually look at like, okay, well, what's inside of this? The way that we have always looked at program design is we look at program design through energy systems training. Okay, without being overly complex here, okay, we have three buckets of energy systems training. Number one, we call it OPEX gain. Number two, we call it OPEX sustain. And number three is OPEX pain. All that is resistance training, aerobic training, anaerobic training. We focus on the big two being gain and sustain. Most folks do not need pain, okay, unless it's sport specific. You're working with a CrossFitter, you're working with like a football player that needs like some really low in time domain, very high power, like alactic work, where you're working with like a mid-distance sprinter, right? They'll need some anaerobics, right? But we focus a lot on gain and sustain. Okay. So I'm not going to dig too deep into this. I just wanted to kind of show you guys how we look at this. And we go really deep in each one of these energy systems. We actually hit one specifically each week. So this is 3 weeks of actually looking at this, and then we spend a week of actually putting it together and designing long-term plans, short-term plans, and daily plans. Lifestyle design. Okay. So we talk about program design, but we also talk about lifestyle design. Okay. This is something that we lean very, very deep into, guys. It's like this is something that we can't leave behind or forget. Exercise is one aspect of it, but lifestyle and what people are doing in their day to day and their habits, that's the foundation. You could have a great program design, but if the foundation is shaky, they are not going to recover and adapt to that great program design that you're giving them. Okay. So BLGs, basic lifestyle guidelines, is what we talk a lot about. Okay. So essentially just look at these as like habits, right? Is there alignment between you and your client? Does your client have great energy on a day by day basis? Are they fueling appropriately? So we start talking about quality, quantity, hydration, food hygiene. Are they moving outside of the gym? Are they getting sunshine? Is their digestion in order? Are they getting proper sleep? Okay, so those are our basic lifestyle guidelines, and we go really deep into each one of those and give you a system to be able to actually assess all of those. So you're not just like flippantly just having a conversation and being like, well, yeah, you're good, right? Assessing, prioritizing, and prescribing lifestyle as well. So that's something that we can't leave behind. Okay. These are foundational, right? We have to think about this from a perspective of we need to build really great habits with our people, not just give a bunch of prescriptions. Okay. So you're giving a prescription so that they adopt them as habits. That would be the goal here. A lot different than exercise. Okay. And then final point here is as coaches, we have to be resolute on these things. It's actually for a lot of us that haven't done this for a long period of time and haven't built a system around it, it's actually more challenging to coach lifestyle than it is exercise, because exercise, we'll like put it in on paper and they just do it, right? But this is a little bit different, right? It's more involved, more engaged. So what we're looking at is how do we create a system to actually be able to prescribe lifestyle over time? Okay. Last one. I will stay on for questions because I missed my timeline. I will stay on for questions, but I want to respect your time. We're coming up to the top of the hour, but I will stay behind. And I think by default, if I stay, I think Ashley has to stay as well. All right, last pillar, guys. This is kind of wrapping everything together. It's actually building systems around the things that we're doing with our people, right? It's building systems and how we coach. Okay, so our systems will determine our success. Okay, so I said that like the flash in the bucket thing, right? Where it's like, yeah, I coach really well in short spurts, right? Or I coach some clients really well, but others not so much, right? If we have great systems that are repeatable and scalable, the likelihood that we will see success will be so much higher because we're not just guessing, we're not just reinventing the wheel with every person that comes in. Okay. Systems matter a lot because they allow us to be consistent. There's quality control built. I'm assuming these are good systems. There's quality control that are built in. Okay. It connects your client to what they're doing, and it's predictable from your client standpoint. When they fall into a system, they know when training is ready. They know when they're consulting with you. They know when reassessments are occurring, right? But most importantly, it's great for our own sanity as coaches. Remember, we talked about like burnout, right? A lot of coaches that burn out don't have great systems. They burn out because they're just like every new client they bring in, it's like starting at year zero. Okay. So we just have to understand, you guys have probably heard this, right? Like you don't rise to your goals, but you fall to your systems, right? You fall to the things that you actually do. on a day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year basis. And then I'll end systems here. A great system, right? It involves a couple things. Okay. Number one, it involves knowledge, right? Like you have to have knowledge. You have to have acumen as a coach, right? A great system nowadays involves technology, right? We need to take advantage of technological advances so that we can just be more efficient, right? If we're not already doing this as coach, and we have so many coaches that are coming in, they're like, yeah, I'm like still using email or like Google Sheets. It's like, yeah, you can you can probably improve your systems a bit, and even your client experience when we talk about using technology, right? And then this last term, methodology, right? It's just how you deploy your knowledge, how you deploy your technology. Okay, so if knowledge is knowing, technology is allowing you to implement, right? It's where you do the thing, it's the delivery mechanism, it's where we build our system. The method would be the how. Okay. So when we talk about it, it's like we wrap all of these things together when we go to and we start thinking about the OPEX method. Okay. The knowledge is all the information that you're learning as you go through the OPEX method. Okay. The technology is CoachRx. So that's our system to actually deliver all of that knowledge so that you can create a methodology based on that knowledge, based on the technology, and based on the great systems that you've learned and actually built yourself as well. Okay. So these three things are really, really important in considering how do I build a solid system? Okay. It's knowledge, technology, and methodology. And that brings us to the OPEX method and what we're doing, guys. So everything that we talked about lives inside of the OPEX method. Okay. It's all around how do you build your own individual design practice. Okay. And it's like we're calling it the OPEX method, but the goal is to take our methodology and shape it around yourself as a coach, right? We're giving you a methodology that you can like take out of the box and just like go and start using. But over the 10 weeks in which we work with our coaches, we're like, make this your own, use your own language, use what's really going to help you, throw away the things that aren't, right? But the goal is to build your own individual design practice. So the way that we do that, okay, so we have you get the full CCP curriculum. So in CCP, Coaching Certificate Program, we talk about three main buckets. Okay, we talk about the coach, okay, the client, and the professional. In the coach, we're teaching coaches the knowledge, right? It's like we're downloading the knowledge into your brains, right? Exercise, behavior, relationship building, nutrition, lifestyle. It's understanding the principles, okay? The client, now we're starting to talk about, okay, how do you take what you know as a coach and how do you build a system with your clients around it? Like, how do you implement it with your clients? Okay. And then the professional, we talk about, okay, now how do you wrap a business around these things? Okay. You know, you have the knowledge, you have the system. Now you need to wrap a business around it. Okay. So what we're doing over 10 weeks, we have 3 touch points per week. Day 1, it's all lecture. So you guys get to listen to more of me. But Ashley's there too, so it's good. We lecture on day 1. Day 2, we're in labs. So we have awesome assistant instructors, and we're actually implementing what we learned in the lecture inside of CoachRx. So you're literally building your coaching system as you go. So we're not just like speaking at you, we're speaking at you, and then you're actually deploying those things and building your system and implementing with your small group of coaches what you're doing on a week by week basis. And then finally, we wrap up every week with office hours. So that's just a time for all of us to get together and just to have conversations, right? It's not a lecture. It's like, this is what we've chatted on this week. Now let's talk about it. What questions do we have? What are we experiencing in real life that we're struggling with? What are we experiencing? It's not like a counseling session, but what are we experiencing in real life that we're facing challenges in implementing the principles that we learned on Tuesday and implemented on Thursday to actually bring these things to life. Okay. And it's awesome because you just see a lot of coaches that are like talking about what they're doing, right, in real life, right? So I think a lot of the value isn't having us, on the office hours and like, giving answers and stuff like that, but it's like the community of coaches that are coming together and that are recapping and ending the week in office hours. So we have 30 touch points. Every coach has direct Slack access with their assistant instructor, as well as the full team. So everyone's dropped in Slack. You're put into your groups, and your groups are only where you break out and do your labs, but we're all together on when we lecture, and we're all together every week in office hours. Okay. You're assigned that one-to-one mentor. Okay. You get 13 months of LearnRx. For you guys that don't know what LearnRx is, it's our learning platform. So essentially, it's like the Netflix of coaching education. We have thousands and thousands of hours of coaching education in there. So you have 13 months of free access to that, along with the OPEX method. You get 16 weeks of CoachRx included as well. So you are building your coaching practice over the 10 weeks going through the program. And then you have some additional time to play with the platform as well. And then right now we're rolling pre-sale pricing. But we actually, but it's like Black Friday is like Black November, December now. We launched a Black Friday deal, our Black Friday deal in November, and it actually ends on Friday. Is Friday the 5th, Candace? Is that correct? Yep, ends on Friday. So right now with the OPEX method, we're offering 20% off. Okay. With LearnRx, we're offering 50% off, and CoachRx, we're offering 30% off. But for purposes of today, we're really focusing on the OPEX method, which if you guys get started in the OPEX method, you get LearnRx and CoachRx included in that. Candace, did I miss anything? Ashley dropped in links. Yeah, Ashley dropped in links. You guys can head over to our landing pages and learn a little bit more on what we're doing in the OPEX method, as well as the OPEX and CoachRx Black Friday deals. 7 minutes over. Not bad, Ashley. Not bad. All right. What do you guys have any questions?
If we're already in CoachRx and we do this program, is that like discount applied moving forward?
Yeah, you just get 16 weeks of free access added to your account. So you just wouldn't pay for CoachRx for 16 weeks.
Depending on client tier.
Yeah.
I have a question. Hi, my name is Maria.
Hey, Maria.
So I just kind of got into coaching, strength and conditioning about a year ago. I retired from the military after 25 years, and this has kind of become my second career. Just because I'm 45, so retirement seems very weird at this age. So right now I actually don't get paid to coach. I do it for free. So it was funny listening to you talk about getting paid. But I'm just wondering, the person who owns the gym recommended OPEX training so I could get some credentials as a coach, because I have lots of credentials in sports coaching, but not necessarily in strength and conditioning. So is there something you would recommend for first-time coaches?
Yeah, that's first, thank you for your service. You're 25 years. Wow. Did you say 25 years?
25, yeah.
Goodness. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. From a credentials standpoint, this is like I have a lot of feelings around credentials. Well, let me ask you this question. Why do you do you need credentials to work in a specific organization, or are you more so like, I want credentials to increase my knowledge or acumen as a coach?
I guess I shouldn't have said credentials. It was more of like, I'm the type of coach who I love to have a lot of tools in my toolbox for coaching. So I'm always learning. I should have mentioned I'm up in Canada. So in Canada, we have something called National Coaching Certification Program for Sports Coaching. So any sports that I've coached, I've always taken a lot of coaching because I find like you can never have enough tools when it comes to coaching. So I feel the same way in strength and conditioning, but it's not my expertise. I myself just got into powerlifting a year ago, so I just really love it, and I love coaching. And I just want to have yeah, like like a solid background so that I can bring my best to my clients,
Yeah.
both in like a group environment, but also one-on-one.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm biased, right? I'm like, yeah, like join OPEX and the OPEX method because we can teach you all the things. But what we focus on, I'll speak to what we're doing. What we're focusing on is building an unbelievably strong foundation for coaches. So what we're not great for is the coach that's like, I need to go like super specific and super niche in this like one area of coaching. Our goal and our aim is that when someone leaves our program, they can go out and coach anyone around the world because they understand the principles, right? I know I'd spent 5 seconds on like gain, pain, sustain, but that's why we even look at program design in that way. Because if you understand the three energy systems and how to deploy those three energy systems for a specific outcome, you can go and coach a power lifter, a weightlifter, a CrossFitter, a general
100%.
population person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're more so focused on that foundationally, Maria. I don't know if that helps you.
Oh, for
But
sure.
yeah, that's what we're concerned with. Yeah.
I just meant more with because he did recommend OPEX was like for OPEX, what is like your first thing to do? Um,
Oh, the OPEX method. Yeah, what we're talking
okay,
about now. Yeah, the OPEX
okay,
method. Absolutely.
perfect.
And this isn't a question that you asked, but it's a question we get quite often. Like, uh, at what phase in someone's career is the OPEX method or CCP really good for? And this is my bias. I love a coach that, two of them. I don't know anything and I'm just learning everything and I'm sucking everything up like a sponge. Or I've been in this game for 20 years and I've been all over the place. And now I'm trying to like really settle into a specific methodology and how to coach someone holistically across the board. Not that anyone in between there can't fit, but I think the OPEX method is unbelievable for those two avatars of coaches, the coach that's been doing it a while and the coach that's absolutely brand new.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep, absolutely.
Hi, I'm Andrew.
Hey, Andrew.
I'm from Egypt. So,
Awesome.
technically, I'm a trainer. I'm not a coach. I'm actually planning to book. I want to start coaching online, and then I want to, and then starting on the public gym. What do you recommend for me to start all this?
Yeah, a bit of the same with Maria. I would say get started with the OPEX method. And guys, I'm not saying this in like a derogatory way. Like we handhold intentionally, right? We're like, hey, blank slate. This is where we're starting. This is how you're building relationships with people. This is how you're assessing people. This is how you're designing training programs, resistance, aerobic, anaerobic. This is how you put all of the pieces together. This is how you coach lifestyle. This is how you coach nutrition. Candace comes off the back end and she dives deep over 2 weeks and how to market yourself as a coach. So yeah, I would biasly say the OPEX method, Andrew.
Hi, Carl. I was wondering whether you had any good examples of positioning. You spoke about it earlier with kind of quite a nuanced like message. Like, do you know any good examples of websites with any of your coaches or things like that?
Ooh, I'm actually gonna, Candace, I'm gonna do this too. I'm gonna toss this over to Candace.
Sure. Websites, not as much, but I would definitely take a look at who we are following on the OPEX account and the CoachRx account, because oftentimes if there's a coach that's either part of our ambassador program or is like heavily involved in investigating and building their personal brand with me personally, we're connected through those pages. And I can definitely, if you want to send a message there, forward you some profiles. Often
Amazing.
feature Daniel Pearson, who is a very strong individual design coach and does a great job at articulating the value behind the service in a unique way. But there are several coaches that I can forward you profiles of.
Thank you. It's amazing.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thanks, Candace.
Mhm.
Anything else, guys?
That's something, Jack, also, if you are really interested in going down those rabbit holes. Carl did mention that I'm getting to teach now the 2 weeks of the OPEX method. The first week of that series, we focus on content strategy. And a lot of that, if you follow the Marketing for Fitness Coaches podcast that is sponsored by the CoachRx podcast network, I talk a lot about belief driven marketing and content strategy. And we will go deep on how each coach can develop their own content strategy that will, of course, help with positioning. And then the second session of that is all focused on the 5-part marketing system that I share in that podcast. It helps you develop the infrastructure for being able to coach in public and then sell in private, and allowing your system to do a lot of that work for you in terms of nurturing leads. But if that's helpful for you to think more about the OPEX method, I would encourage you to do that. And if not, I would check out the podcast because I do go deep on a lot of that information.
Yeah, I have actually listened. It's really good. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad it's helpful.
Awesome.
Hello, guys. Can I say something?
Yeah. How's it going? Welcome. It's good to see you again, man.
Hello, guys. I just want to tell to everyone who is here on the webinar that, hey, guys, I passed more than 5, maybe 6 coaching certificate programs, whatever. Okay, I already passed the NSTS as well. And guys, actually, really, there is nothing better than OPEX, because I'm following OPEX method more than how many years? From 2015, so more than 10 years. And really, there is nothing better. It's a huge amount of knowledge. And if you know how to apply it and you follow the rules and guidelines, it's absolutely the best on the market. I know it costs some money, but whatever, okay? But all my money, what I invested to OPEX, are back. And I really love it. And really, it's my recommendation. Hey, guys, follow OPEX, because really, it's the best thing what I've ever done for my training, for my professional coaching life. So really, it's the best. And please do it, because it's actually really is the best on the market. So that's it. Thank you, guys, for your service, because you, Carl, and Candace, you are doing absolutely awesome job for all of us. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. See you guys.
Michael, we appreciate it. And I promise we did not pay Michael to do that thing.
No, absolutely.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
I'm really proud of that, because when I'm checking the plans, what other coaches are doing for other clients, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And really, OPEX gave me, you see my beautiful house? It's paid from my coaching career. So thank you, guys. See you.
I didn't realize that was
Michael.
you
Appreciate
with your nickname on your screen, but Michael is one of our ambassadors. We have keeps growing, about 46 ambassadors. If y'all ever want to connect one-on-one with an OPEX coach and ask them questions, a lot of them are willing to jump on calls if that's helpful for you. So just reach out to us and we can make that happen. But Michael is a great example of another coach who positions himself very well. And he's also both in gym and remote. So has global clients as well as physical clients in his location.
Yep.
Awesome.
See you guys.
See ya. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. We will wrap it up there if there's no more questions. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And thank you for you guys that spent an extra 19 minutes with us.
Thank you. See you guys.
Yep. Chat soon, everyone.